There's no such thing as an iPad kid. My daughter uses an iPad every single day.
I have seen the results of these iPad kids, and it's not good.
We are a family of 6, and we are raising a bunch of iPad kids.
I hate to say this, but it's time to take the iPad away from the kids.
Stop shaming parents about screen time, okay? I just saw a TikTok today. This woman's like, it's okay for your kids to be bored. No, seriously, it's okay for your kids to be bored. You don't need to put a tablet in front of their face. She said, tell your kid to go dig a hole and then fill it back in. Excuse me? These kids can't just go outside. They're not going outside by themselves, just wandering around at 8 years old like we did. When I was 8 years old, I was biking around, got lost, and had to go into a grocery store full on crying, saying, I can't find my house. A lady had to drive me up and down the street until I recognized my dad's car. It was ridiculous. You think that I'm just letting my kids outside unsupervised? Absolutely not. You keep your eyes on your kids, and if you need 45 minutes to get something done, give them a tablet. There's literally no shame in that whatsoever. Jesus Christ. Oh, and for all the Karens out there, I'm not giving them unlimited screen time. I have a Genie screen time installed, so they have to do lessons before they unlock their apps. So no, Karen, they're not just getting brain rot for hours on end. They're actually learning something. And these people judging, they probably don't even have kids. It's always the ones with no kids talking about how to raise your kids. Shut up. Every generation does this. Your great-great-grandma was probably like, I don't know why your 13-year-old isn't working in a factory. Like, because we want to do better than you did, genius. We're keeping our kids safe out here while trying to maintain our sanity. Oh, and if that means giving them a tablet for 20 minutes with Genie screen time so they're learning instead of just watching brain rot, so be it. Case closed.
That was a lot that was said in that video, but a few things that I do want to point out is I don't think anybody sensible is saying that you should let your kids out of your house to play in the front yard unsupervised. You should be watching your kids, making sure that they don't go across town on a bike and find a lady that's going to help them come back to the house. That's not how it is. If you're worried about the safety, then that is what you would do as a parent. You can let them go out, dig a hole, and fill it up. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with kids being bored. I've seen so many parents out there give their kids an iPad because they're like, oh, they're bored. They don't know what to do. Find activities, find hobbies. And just because your iPad provides an educational app doesn't mean that that app is educational. Sometimes it's just a bunch of brain rot with ABC stamped in front of the screen and you think, it's educating my kids, so it's good. No, just because they're clicking certain numbers doesn't mean they're fully comprehending what they're seeing. Doesn't mean they're understanding. Have you seen the attention spans of iPad kids? It is that deep because it messes with their cognitive skills as well as their social skills. These kids cannot socialize outside of their screens. Those iPads become their babysitters. Whenever they're bored, iPad. Whenever they're throwing a tantrum, iPad. Whenever they're restless or have a minor inconvenience, iPad is always the answer. It's like a digital pacifier that they carry all the time. And it's going to affect them as they get older, and then we're gonna have to be dealing with those adults. There are some adults right now that act like iPad kids because some of y'all are on your phones all the time, going shopping on your phone, eating in the restaurants on your phone, not paying attention to your kid. Some of these kids aren't even on their iPads, it's the parents. They learn from that behavior and they just repeat it. So for as long as you're not correcting it, it's just gonna go on and on and on. Another point she made is it's always the people that don't have kids that like to give parents advice. You don't have to have a kid to recognize that a pattern is bad. That's like saying if you're not a chef, you can't realize that food is getting burnt. Yes, you can. You can give that advice. Hey, the stove is on fire. Wait, you're not a chef? How do you know? That's not how that works. In this conversation, you're being lazy. You're being weak when you use that freaking argument. It just doesn't stick. And don't get me wrong, parenting is hard. Nobody is gonna deny that. But struggle doesn't automatically mean that every coping mechanism that you use on your kid is good. Another point she made is that it's okay as a parent to give your kids 40 minutes of iPad screen time because it gets hard. If that's what you wanna do, that is fine. My advice would be from someone that doesn't have a kid, woo! If you lack the discipline as a parent, then your kid will stumble in life.
There's no such thing as an iPad kid. My daughter uses an iPad every single day. Because outside of school, gymnastics, and jujitsu, she needs some time to just escape it all, to have some fun time. Yesterday, I got into this hour-long argument with my sister-in-law. She was like, I don't want to have a kid because I don't want to be raising no iPad kid. Those type of kids are raised by the iPad. In restaurants, when your kid is crying and you don't know how to control them, they just force feed them the iPad. Here, calm down. I don't want to deal with it. On the other hand, I would get up with my 1-year-old. We're walking around. She's hi to everybody. She just wants to say, she's bored. She wants to go talk to me. I would take the salt and pepper shakers, lay napkins on the table, and they would just sit there doing this until the food came out, just stimulating their little minds. I would ask for extra straws. We would count, tear them apart, build things. I can't stand the term iPad kid, because anytime you tell a new parent, oh, you don't want to have an iPad kid, automatically they go to, well, I'll never let my kid touch an iPad. No, don't let your kid be raised by the iPad. My kid is a very well-trained student. She's really good at jiu-jitsu. She does gymnastics. She is a great kid. Like, my little kid's amazing. But she enjoys that fucking iPad from time to time. I don't have to limit screen time, set timers, anything. She puts it down to go play with her Play-Doh or color or draw whenever she wants to.
Age definitely plays a factor in this entire conversation. I don't know how old his kid is, but for the most part, I agree with everything that he's saying. The most important point he made in that entire video is that do not let the iPad raise your child. You cannot sit in front of your friend and say, I don't want to have a kid because I don't want to raise an iPad kid. You don't have to. Look at all the sports that he labeled that his kid does. And even when the kid has an iPad, she knows when to just throw it away and go do things, go do activities, get bored. So there's nothing inherently bad with an iPad. Just don't let it be a digital pacifier for everything.
Yeah, so how can I tell if a kid is an iPad kid within like 5 minutes, right? Some of these things are based off of like empirical studies. Some of these are just things that I've known from working with kids and clues that I can pick up on. Also, take all of this with a grain of salt, considering age. Some of these that are going to be super obvious. For example, they can't handle the word wait. Wait is a big trigger word. It usually gets the same response for me that it does for no. So they're automatically seeing wait as a no to the right now thing. And immediately the clock is ticking. When can you get to it? Those things are like easy. You can imagine that, yeah, that probably is an impact that you get from being on an iPad too much, right? Another thing that people don't think of so much is the impact on like social problem solving. A lot of times kids don't have the capacity to actually solve a problem because they're so used to things being automated. And this is their first time on earth, right? So they're like just learning how the world works, how social skills work, how relationships are reciprocal. And a lot of times when you have an online life that is such a large majority of your life, you're not getting that human interaction, the ability to like read people's faces, their social cues. Even if you are watching people on TV, like we don't interact like people do on TV. It also a lot of times leads to like impulse control issues for that reason and the instant gratification. It's almost like those two kind of marry each other in my head, where it's kind of like you have the social aspect piece of it, not understanding certain things about relationships, but then you also have the need for instant gratification. And I think a lot of times that leads to just poor impulse control. I'm going to lash out. So we're going to get really wild responses a lot of the time. Again, these are the obvious things. Kids are constantly coming in super, super tired. We've ruled out medical issues, that kind of thing. My question is always, where's the iPad at night? Because a lot of times that iPad gets brought out at night. And it doesn't have to be an iPad, it could just be a screen at night. And that is hours and hours of my eyeballs, you know, like not good. First, you need to be guarding your kids' sleep with your life. I understand some kids are not good sleepers. It's really tough. That's a whole nother issue in itself. What will not help them is that blue light. And like, we can stay up on it for hours. There are sometimes I scroll on TikTok for, I swear, 10 minutes, and then all of a sudden I look up and it's 1 a.m. It happens. It's gonna happen even more to them. So kids that I notice with communication is not always as reciprocal. Whenever you meet a kid who does get talked to at home, usually that kid can hold a conversation. Again, depends on your level of development. I'm not expecting a conversation from a 3-year-old, but they do seem to understand that communication is a two-way street. Can't always be occupied by a conversation. So like some kids, I have to plan an activity, a very interactive thing in order to get them engaged in any capacity in a therapeutic sense. Other kids can have the conversation. Doesn't mean that I don't accommodate too. So there's kids that can with accommodations, you know, if I give them some wiggle feet to step on or they have fidgets, they're able to have that conversation, and that's different. Kids who are always on iPads are waiting for the next shot of dopamine that they are not getting from a conversation with me immediately, and they need it immediately, right? Like, it's gonna take a minute for me to make them laugh. I gotta think of some jokes. And then sometimes we can get the ball rolling, but even then it's usually not enough. They need something else to keep them occupied. They need more input in order to be satisfied. So a lot of these kids are very hard to please. Something else that I notice, that if you have a kid who's regularly on a screen, if they don't have a screen in front of them or something like really actively engaging that's giving them that dopamine source, they want a snack. They need to have a snack in order to have a conversation, in order to get that dopamine fix while they're talking to you. It's like literally filling a bucket with a hole in it. Talking like high sensory foods, right? So like they want something crunchy, they want something spicy, they want something salty, they want something sour. A lot of these kids can't handle losing. In real life, they don't get another shot at like doing a jump or whatever. I mean, they can obviously if they try again, but like what's done is done, and that doesn't usually sit well with a lot of kids. That also means that they don't recognize consequences as final a lot of the time. So when you give a kid a line of like, hey, if you hit another student, you will not be able to do, you know, a field trip or something like that. You know, there's a consequence to that. That's the consequence to your behavior. A lot of time it's like, okay, well then let me change it so I can get a different consequence. Nope. That was the one life. You didn't get another one. Yeah. So all of it should be stopped. And currently, because I've been on a screen too much, I'm having brain fog. See, this is what happens in an adult brain. Can you imagine what happens whenever they're not developed? They stop developing.
That video just sums it all up. Imagine those kids as adults. As their life unfolds, those patterns will continue if they're not corrected. And while kids are developing, why do you want to stunt that growth? It all comes down to instant gratification. When the dopamine hits, the colors on the screen that they're watching are bright for a reason. It is intentional. It is to get your kid that dopamine hit, that instant reward. The clips are going fast. There's repetition. That is brain rot that goes nowhere, just constant. I've seen videos of some content creators, I'm not gonna call them out, but as they're talking, there's a freaking Subway Surfer playing on the screen in order to keep people's attention. I swiped so hard on those videos because what do you mean? You need there to be a game on the side for you to pay attention to what I'm saying. And also teachers are having to deal with this because they're trying to make sure that your kid gets the help that he or she needs.
We are a family of 6 and we are raising a bunch of iPad kids. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you all of our electronic devices in our house to make you feel a little bit better about yours. My 2-year-old's iPad, my 5-year-old's iPad and his AAC, my 7-year-old's iPad, my 10-year-old's iPad and his iPhone, my iPad, my iPhone, and my Switch, and my watch, and my MacBook, my husband's iPad, my husband's iPhone, and his watch. Each of the 2 older boys have a PS5. My husband has an Xbox Series X and a PC. How many TVs do we have? We have 9 TVs throughout the entire house. Is that it? And the only time we limit screen time is Monday through Thursday. That's all.
I love how she has the equivalent of the Subway Surfer playing in the background as she's talking about all of this. I won't say much in that video because it would just be a repetition of what I've already said, but that was overstimulating in itself. Before we move on to the next video, I just want to take this moment to say thank you so much to all my Anti-Delulu Den members for always showing me love and support, even in the hard times with the hard videos that even get to me. Y'all's words are very comforting when it comes to those types of videos. I also want to give a shout out to everyone that isn't in the Anti-Delulu Den membership. If you are interested in joining the membership, please make sure that you don't have any debt, because if you do, I would hope that you tell me so that we can work out a way for you to not be part of the membership anymore. Please and thank you. Let's get back into pretty much this illiteracy crisis that we're facing.
Here's another truth about teaching, and I want to talk about the iPad kids. I'm a retired middle school teacher here, but I do sub now, and I sub a lot in kindergarten. And I have seen the results of these iPad kids, and it's not good. Let me explain. I was in Costco today with my husband. I saw a woman who had her 2 children in the carriage, and each child had an iPad and earphones on. They were about kindergarten, 1st grade. And I said to my husband, those are your iPad kids. And he said, well, what else do you expect the mom to do? I said, the mom could do a lot of things right now. She could be parenting. She could be teaching her child. Here's what I mean. I'm coming from a teacher's perspective. Take the iPads away. Take the kids out of the carriage, let them walk. Teach them how to say, excuse me, to people that they're coming in front of. Social skills. Ask your child to look for an item using the ABCs, spelling things out. Maybe doing a little bit of math with your child in terms of how much the items cost. Asking your child to be in charge with the cashier so that they can talk to the cashier to develop those social skills. You see, in Costco at that moment in time, there were so many opportunities for that parent to be a teacher. You see, because a child's first teacher are the parents. Because in kindergarten, as I sub, here's what I'm seeing. I see kids who cannot use their words. They don't know how to wait their turn. They can't hold scissors. They don't know how to hold a pencil. They don't know how to spell their own name. By the time your child gets to kindergarten, they should know their ABCs and they should know a lot of their numbers. They should know the days of the week, weeks, the months of the year, who the president is. They should know how to sit still, at least for a little while. I'm not telling you everything has to be perfect, but as I sub, I am seeing a lot of children with a lot of those deficits. But there's one thing they do know how to do, and that is how to turn on an iPad and how to use it. It's very sad because those children will be left behind. And in each year as they go along, the gaps are going to get bigger and bigger and bigger in terms of their education. It starts with one little thing. Take away the iPads, take them out of the carriage, and start teaching your child.
Someone said, my kids have mentioned several times how we are the only ones talking to each other in the grocery store. That is so sad for a kid to recognize that. Funny because our school district middle school has no school books. It's all on their, really? They hardly write on paper. When they do write, they use abbreviations like text. Oh, yeah, it's been a while since I've been in school, but my goodness, what do you mean there are no school books? Is that true? As a parent that is also a teacher, when I'm with my children, every moment is a teachable moment in my home. If I'm cooking, they are helping cleaning. They are helping shopping. They are helping. Your long sentence is not helping. In some conversations, you just have to be grammatically correct.
Your 3-year-old can run a whole TikTok account, but ask them what 1 + 1 is and it's crickets. And that's not a problem to y'all? That's not a concern? Like, I feel like we have to be so real. People don't want to parent their kids these days, and it's so ridiculous. Like, the amount of people that I know that have kids who are literally under 6, y'all, and their kids have like iPads and phones, and like they can use them phones and tablets, like their life depends on it. But you ask them kids, what is 1 + 1? It's cricket. What comes after B in the alphabet? Y'all, it's crickets. I'm not even trying to shame nobody, but I feel like parents these days have become so lazy. Like, a lot of parents don't realize how much like social media is affecting their kids. It's not normal for a 3-year-old to have a phone or a tablet. It's not normal. I don't care what you guys say, it's not. Not normal for a 3-year-old to throw a tantrum and the first thing you do is shove an iPad in their face to shut them up. And here comes the people saying, you're not a mom, so you would never understand. You don't have kids, blah, 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 blah. Y'all, I grew up with 6 siblings. I've basically helped raise them. I've always babysat for people. I've worked at a daycare. I feel like I have a little say in this. And all I know is if my kid was throwing a tantrum, the thing I would not do is shove an iPad in their face or a phone to shut them up. Like, how about we take time and sit with our kids and try to understand why they feel the way they feel instead of just jumping to the phone, to Miss Rachel. Miss Rachel is tired, y'all. Miss Rachel is tired. And I'm not saying like kids can't watch TV or be on their iPads, but I feel like there definitely should be a limit. Like, kids should not be spending their whole day on a tablet. Even when I'm in public spaces, I've noticed like as soon as a kid starts to misbehave, y'all, the parents swing their phone out so quick and they play whatever the kid's favorite show is, and that's the end of that. Like, that's not okay.
Her saying Miss Rachel is tired is absolutely frying me. One thing she did talk about, and is a topic that I definitely want to eventually talk about, is parentification. That is when parents have so many kids, they rely on the oldest to raise the rest. That is in my top 10 list of things that just make me so mad, because that is not a child's responsibility. But that is a topic for another day. Another thing I want to talk about is the difference between a TV and an iPad, because there could be somebody out there like, well, the TV's the same and we used to watch TVs and we're fine. That's because the TV is stationary. The TV doesn't go anywhere. It's not portable. It stays there. It's easier to monitor with screen time. It's easy to see what the kid is watching. Once your show is over, you go outside and you play. Or once the show is over, you go and do something in the house if you don't want your kid going outside and dirtying themselves. It can be used as a digital pacifier, but it's the safer alternative if you wanted to make sure that you're monitoring what your kid is watching.
I hate to say this, but it's time to take the iPad away from the kids. I was sitting in the waiting room and I saw this kid on a huge iPad, and he was in front of me, so I could see everything that was on the iPad. What this kid was watching was kind of crazy. Every clip was like glitching, like this. And it would glitch like 4 seconds, and it'll flip to another clip in a glitch. This kid did not have any headphones, didn't have any sound. And I watched it for probably like the duration that I was in the waiting room. And I was like, there's no substance or nothing to this video. Like there's nothing really funny. It was just kind of like lights flashing, a character, and that was it. A lot of kids are watching the same thing. There's no education, there's no retention, there's no storyline, there's no movies. So I don't have kids, but a lot of stuff that the kids are consuming kind of correlates to the kids that are developing. So yeah.
That is so sad, and I've witnessed some similar things. It's mainly been Subway Surfer. There's also, I think it's Coco Melon. That show is just overstimulating to kids. I'm sure there's others out there. I guess what I'm about to say is a little adjacent to the conversation, but for example, Peppa Pig. Peppa Pig is a whiner. Caillou is a whiner. So just monitor what your kids are watching so that their attitude doesn't change out of the blue, when in reality, it is those iPads. And don't just think that this conversation stops at children. There are adults that show signs of being the equivalent of an iPad kid. Those adults that doom scroll, consume bad news all the time. They get crazy, it changes their mood, but they continue to doom scroll, and they don't know how to pay attention to a conversation. You're talking to an adult and they're on their phone checking something every now and again. That is an iPad adult. They are out there too. And so if you are recognizing these patterns in yourself, correct them now before you have kids. Otherwise, it'll come bite you in the butt. I could go on a deeper rabbit hole and say, this is what the government needs. This is what the government wants. For people to be as brain rotten dumb as possible in order to persuade them, because it is easier to persuade somebody that has a short attention span. That's just what it is, and that doesn't research things for themselves and all this yada yada yada. I could go on and on and on without wasting any more time. Thank you for coming to my talk. I will see you guys next time.